It's AGV TV back again with a fun-filled podcast. And because we like to keep it spruced up and fun, we decided that we should have a special edition today. So we always go around in our outreaches and we get exposed to so many different girls and young people throughout the city of Bulawayo. And one thing that has stood out in all of these experiences is that girls or young people in general feel like they can't have that relationship with their parents, or they can't talk about certain things with their parents. So, like the fun people we are, we decided to get the parents onto the podcast. And I have two lovely parents here with us today, and I'll allow you guys to introduce yourselves.
I'll honor ladies.
Thank you very much. My name is Tandazile Dube. I am a mother, which makes me a parent.
Yes, definitely. You say?
My name is Witness Tawar Wisa. I'm a father of one and a guardian of two, which makes me also a parent.
Yes, lovely. And we also wanted to get a young lady's voice. So obviously we got a sister on the show. Please introduce yourself, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Malima and I'm 21 years old and I'm someone's daughter.
Yes, so we like to keep it impartial here. So today we really want to get to the gist of the matter. Like, who's to blame and how can we as a society move on from such a predicament or a situation where young people feel like they can't communicate with their parents? But to start off the podcast today, I'll pose a question to our parents today, which is, do you feel like you communicate with your children in general, and how is your communication? Because there's most young people in general have the experience of command as communication, where your parents maybe tell you what to do and you just do what your parents say you must do. They don't have that line of communication where they can actually tell their parents how they feel or what they want to do. So please tell us from your experiences, what type of communication do you have with your children?
Basically, on my side, the type of communication that I have with children under the roof, it's an open police door. It's an open door police that I use. We discuss about everything at any given time where we feel like it's right time to discuss our issues.
Yes, definitely.
I really engage. I don't tell them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you, ma'am?
Yeah, it's almost the same thing. Me and my children are open to each other.
All right.
We talk a lot. But sometimes they say I'm a bully. I don't know what they mean.
All right, yes.
They say, I sometimes tell them what to do, especially when it comes to household activities. Yes. There's a certain way I have to tell them, do this, do that, do that. But when it comes to other things, we talk, we engage.
Okay.
Depending on what we're talking about.
All right. I hear Kimberly really has something to say towards that. Please, Kimberly, engage us on that.
I think as I'm here representing young people, I'd like to say most of our parents, when communicating with us, it's not the fact that they're engaging with us, but it's more of telling us what to do. And also in telling us what to do, it's not about mostly the positive side of things, but it's to instill fear so that you don't do those things. But I think we need to be clear on where parents try to be protective and make us afraid of those things. When we're talking about issues to do with S.R.H.R, I think most parents don't talk about that with us.
All right. So from what Kimberly says, we have a very interesting then conversation that comes out of that, namely S.R.H.R, which is sexual reproductive health rights. Do you have conversations with your children about sex, about their reproductive health, and everything related to that?
I see no problem in discussing that with the children.
All right.
But also maybe what is of paramount importance is knowing when to start.
Okay.
And what to talk about at a given time.
All right.
And also you need to know the progression of your child's life, and use appropriate language depending on what level he or she is in.
All right.
Yeah, that's true. We need to talk to our children about sexual reproductive health. but sometimes in some families it's a taboo.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, especially for a mother to sit down with her sons, her daughters, and a father to sit down with their daughters and talk about sexual reproductive health. It's really taboo. Those are the things that we leave to the aunts and the grandmothers. But for parents, it becomes difficult. But I think we are evolving.
All right.
As we revolve, like what my friend, Mr. Tavares has said, we need to be open.
Yeah, sure.
Just look at the age and the way you address your children.
All right.
Maybe if you start early, you using the language that suit that particular age, as the children grow, they become free to talk to you. And you as well as a parent, you become free to talk to them about sexual reproductive health. But if you wait till they are older, it becomes difficult to address such issues. To introduce, hey, Bantwan, it becomes really difficult.
Yes, it does. Okay, but then what then becomes the right age to have these conversations with your children, particularly?
Oh, first and foremost, if you really follow the children's, you realize that at some stage where they start developing shyness, when you start discussing these issues, then now this is the right time to hit the bullseye.
Okay.
When they start developing what, Mr. Tavares?
Shyness.
When they don't want to have these conversations, that's the right age to have these conversations.
Well, some maybe to just interject. Sometimes you maybe take for example, you're watching television, Yes. Then there are romantic scenes. Just pop your eyes and check on her or him, and then you see when you see him closing or looking down or starting being shy, then wow, there is an issue that we need to discuss about. And also, maybe as a parent, also you need to take note of such things and make those things your entry point in opening or in your engagement with your children.
All right.
Yeah.
Beautiful parenting that we're getting. To all the parents viewing, the right time is when your child starts feeling shy when they see that sex scene on TV. Really. But then, do you feel your socialization affects your parenting? For example, most parents growing up didn't have that experience or that exposure to certain things.
Yeah.
That is to say, you didn't know sex was a thing till you were about to get married. But then the problem is, now we have young people growing up in an environment that broadcasts this information that allows them to really get into it at a very young age, right? So then how does that affect your parenting? Do you need to change and evolve? Do you sometimes need to hold yourself back as a parent and go no, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be reacting in this way.
Yeah, that actually brings what I can say confusion in the parenting skills.
All right.
We are the parents who are living in this world with things are happening and it's evolving and it's changing. But when we grow up, it wasn't like that.
Yes.
It was really a taboo. You couldn't talk about sexual reproductive health with your parents.
Yeah, definitely.
Even your sisters.
Yeah, sure.
It was something else. Now, taking that from back and the way things are now and putting these things together, we become confused as parents. What really do we really, do our children have to grow up the way we did, or do we have to change the things? But I think if you bring both two worlds and maybe find a balance, I think that can really work.
All right.
Yeah, I guess as a parent, you need to be very flexible.
Yes.
Especially looking at us males or fathers. You'd find yesteryear we were brought up in a society that taught us that sex is not something to be discussed. Sex is to be done and not to be discussed.
Yes.
So, but now also because of the progression that happens in life and the explorations that have been happening around, life have changed. And we need just not to stay as rigid as a stencil, but we need to be flexible and move with time.
I get that. But I think we have great parents on the show today that are very open-minded. But are these the real experiences that young people are projecting to us? Are they the experiences that they're going through? And I think I want to ask Kimberly about her experience with parents in general, what her friends might say about their parents, what she feels is the type of relationship she has with her own parents.
I think the fact that we grew up in different worlds and the fact that we have different socialization, it makes the whole communication thing difficult with our parents. Because, for example, what they've been saying that when they grew up, sex was a taboo. But with us now, whether your parents tell you about sex or they don't, at the end of the day, you're going to find out about sex. And for me, the talk with my mother is always, boys will always be there, sex will always be there. This is not the time to do it. Focus on school. It's really about, I know you're growing up, I know these are the things you're going to experience.
Right.
If maybe you happen to start to have sex, this is how you're going to go about it. It's never about, it's really about that.
Yeah, sure.
And I think it's important to understand that in as much as we are also living in different worlds, as young people, we have to be kind to our parents because I think they're still adapting to the way the world
definitely.
is and how we're growing up, and they're still trying to figure out how to talk to us. But also at the same time, we're still trying to figure out how to communicate with our parents.
Yeah, definitely.
Because sometimes parents may want to initiate that conversation, but to us, I'm like, why do you want to initiate this conversation right now?
Your
What's going on?
own
Is she trying to trap me?
Uh-huh.
Is she trying to find out whether I have a boyfriend, whether I'm having sex or not?
Yes.
So I think we still need to strike a balance, just like Miriam was saying, we still need to find that balance between us and our parents and understand our differences and try to have more diverse conversations coming from the ideas that come from our parents and the time they grew up in and our ideas. So I think the experiences are different for each and everyone because parents are different and they are brought
Sure.
up in different ways. So for us, with parents who were brought up in such societies that shunned upon sex, it's difficult for them to have these conversations with us.
What's so interesting about what Kimberly says is she talks about how then are we really able as young people to relay certain information to our parents, right? I'll give an example of like an experience of mine. That is to say, sometimes I wouldn't necessarily tell my mom about a relationship or someone I'm involved with. And the reason why I wouldn't do that is because of the way she'll take it. She's not going to take it the same way I'm going to take it. Maybe she's going to see it as a problem, or maybe she's going to see it as a good thing, right? Or she's just going to be overly invested in the whole situation, right? So then, do you create an environment where your children can fully open up to you? Or do you actually want to maintain that gap that prevents them from fully opening up to you? Are there topics that you don't want your children to come and talk to you particularly?
I don't have got any topics that I'm saying I can't discuss with my child. Taking this from my personal experience, when I grew up, my dad didn't have time to sit down with me and discuss these issues with me. Until upon a day when I asked him, Dad, how did you meet mom anyway? Can you please share that with me? And for one information, maybe in our family, I'm the only one among my siblings who knows the story. Because I had the guts to say, no, Dad, how did you really meet with mom? And at first you didn't want to discuss that with me. But later on, pestering, then he started opening up slowly. Later I said, son, why did you ask me? Why now? I said, no, but if we really look back, we've walked this path. You really had time to sit down with me and discuss these sexual reproductive health issues with me. So how then do you expect me to be a good father in life? I think for me that was a turning point. Then I then moved from just being a cut and paste somebody. Then I started reading around. I started attending workshops on good parenting. Then I saw the gap and I saw the opportunity and grasped it with both hands. Now I'm using that and leveraging on that. Not only do I use that to the benefit of my kid, but also for the other kids around in the community.
Okay, what's very breathtaking about you is that you come and you tell us particularly about the way you relate and how you altered your parenting and you want to be involved. The unfortunate thing about society today is that fathers are not really as involved with their children. You find that in our experiences with young women and even young men in general in society, and the more they communicate with us, you find that your father could not sit down with you and tell you about your reproductive health. Oh yeah, you go on a period. This is what you do. These are the things. Your mom is expected to have those conversations with you. Are we saying that we don't want fathers to have those conversations with us? Are we saying that we don't want our fathers to be a part of that journey with us? Because these are our experiences as their daughters.
I think as young people, we want both our parents to be present. But I think it also goes back to socialization because, as Sir said, his father was not really, he didn't really have the time. So I think what most fathers know is that they need to go to work, provide for you, and that's it. So I think they still need to have that shift in their mindset to say that we need to be involved in our children's lives, whether they want to talk about school or they want to talk about boys. Because for us girls, it's difficult for you to learn about boys from boys. I think we need to be guided by our fathers about how life is out there. And with most girls who don't have present fathers, I think it becomes a disadvantage because you're also trying to understand how the world is, but you also don't have a father figure to tell you how things go about. So we need fathers to be present. We need fathers to be involved and have these conversations with us, because I think it's very important to have that conversation with your father, because you now know what to expect and you have that conversation with someone who is not out there to manipulate you, but someone who's out there to protect you.
Anything from you, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm thinking I'll still go back to the shifting of mindset. What I can say, some of us, the way we're brought up, it's different from the way we are bringing up our children. And we still want to go back and raise our children the way we're brought up. And it becomes difficult now. Like talking about relationships, talking about sex, whether I'm a woman or a man, it becomes difficult as a mother. Maybe seeing a condom in my daughter's handbag or purse, and I'm like, hey, you know, it's weird to know that your daughter or your son is engaging, is sexually active. It brings shivers. We tend to shun these things. These things are natural, but we tend to shun them, put them at the back of our minds, and think these things don't happen, but they do happen. And we need to address these issues. They don't have to go and get advice from other people out there about stuff that is not okay. As parents, we need to talk to our children. But the way our children are now, they are very different from us. They are so outgoing. They know a lot of things. And some of the things that they know is actually not the correct things. So we need to actually help our children, and to all the parents out there, let's be involved in our children's lives, be it their relationships, be it their sexual reproductive health. Those gogos are not there. Those aunts are not there. I'm an auntie to someone, but maybe I stay miles and miles away from abantwana bonala who say aunt to me. We really need to step up as parents. Because it's gonna really mess up with the life of our children.
Surely. Maybe just to add, if we say, let's just take a flashback. Look at what transpired during the COVID era, where we had a lot of teenagers that got pregnant. What was the driving motive behind? We need to reflect on that. Because for me, when I did the research around that, we had a problem. Whereby isachira umsebenzi wonke umsebenzi ka-teacher we-guidance and counseling. Mntanami ngehluleka umblame u-teacher. And now that abantwana under our nose, and asila that communication with them, asila that bond with them, abantwana bamithile bephansi nje kophahla lwethu. Sisolo bani?
Abazali.
So I'm saying to my parents on Alawana, absentee parents, it's high time we step up.
Yeah.
Using that as a reference point. Because now if we look, nobody's even discussing about the issues now. And for me, it's a worrisome issue, especially when it comes to me, to say, okay, what kind of parents would they be? What kind of a future generation that we have brought to the world?
All right, you heard it straight from the parents themselves. They talk about the value of your parenting and the importance of you being an open parent and communicating with your children. But like I decided to be the impartial one in this whole conversation. So we have a lot of parents maybe that have gone through past traumas and experiences. And you find that the way they parent their children is in such a way that prevents their children from such experiences. I'll give you an example of maybe a parent who got pregnant at a very young age, and the father of the child walked away, and she's had to raise her own child by herself. You find that a parent like that could easily then decide that they don't want their daughter to be involved with sex, they don't want their daughter to be experienced in that type of a world. So then, which type of parenting do you value in general currently? Parenting that grooms children to survive in the current world, or parenting that prevents children according to its past traumas, really?
For one, I prefer parents who groom children. I shouldn't use my background as an excuse that will later traumatize or haunt my children or the children around me. Because mostly, like you're saying, you're rightfully putting it across that most parents, they suffer from anger issues from their past. And they want their children also to feel the same. The way how they were treated by their parents also. It's a cut and paste issue.
Really? Yes,
But if really you really look at your child, you have an idea of what kind of a child do I want? And what kind of a citizen am I bringing to the world? So you need to be involved. And then let your child be a product of somebody else. Mold him to a proper child that has an open mind and that has informed, so that whenever he or she is making decisions, she or he makes informed decisions, that he or she will never live to regret. Because we as parents, we've walked the path. You haven't walked the path that we've walked. So we should also utilize that and take advantage of that and be as much realistic as possible and inform you, so that when you also go out there alone, you will be strong enough to make decisions that are best decisions for you and for future generations.
Wow.
I like the word that you used at the end, realistic.
Yeah.
We have to be realistic as parents. The world is changing.
Surely.
I think as parents, we need to change with the world. Sometimes we get to be overprotective.
Yeah.
Abantwana sibafihlele on what is happening, and it doesn't work.
Surely.
They will always find out. There is a lot of information out there, and these kids know a lot. Some of the things that we don't even know about.
Yeah, surely.
So we need to be realistic. Abantwana sibakhulise ngendlela langesikhathi abakhula ngaso. The times are different. Isikhathi lesikhulisa ngabantwana and the time that we grow up in, two different worlds.
Yeah.
Vele it's different. Let's groom our children. Sibakhulise in such a way ukuthi benelise ukuzicabangela.
Yeah, sure.
That should know what is wrong and what is right. Yes.
I think what mom says is very interesting, because she says probably kids know a lot more than you know.
Yeah.
An idea of that is like how your daughter might know more about your smartphone than you as a parent
sure,
do.
that's
true.
And then you expect them not to know some of these things. Really? Are you sure? But like, to wind up our interesting conversation, I just want to ask all of you, all of the panelists in general, how then do we bridge the gap between parents that don't have these open conversations with their children and the children who feel like they cannot approach their parents? Any advice, Kim?
I think at this point, we have all agreed that communication is vital.
Yeah, surely.
So I think as a young person, if you can see that your parent is struggling to initiate conversations, initiate them yourself. Because sometimes parents are just looking for your way in. So, and then for parents who feel like we are not communicating with them, I think they also need to initiate those conversations. I think the most important thing is to start having these conversations.
All right. Yes. Any more advice from you guys?
Yeah, it's all about communication and
Yes.
opening up. Yeah.
All right.
I think for me, it takes two to tango. And so it's all about making sacrifices sometimes and swallowing our ego to say, I move from point A, let's meet somewhere. You need also to move from point B, then we meet somewhere. Where we meet, then we make it as much conducive as possible, and we try to be as much open and honest to each other, also not infringing each other's privacy.
Yes.
Because mostly that's where the danger is. Yeah, because just to give an exploration to say, maybe you look, it's a scenario whereby a child is born HIV and the parent doesn't tell her. They're just giving him, how would you feel when umntanakho is a discover ukuthi unatha ama-ARVs from somebody else or from internet? Uza kuxolela yini ewempilo yakhe? So let's save a life and save a generation. As when open discussing, call a spade, and then we'll have a healthy relationship that will also extend to him or her having a friendly and healthy relationship with somebody who him or her chooses to live in life.
All right. Well, you heard this panel. It takes two to tango, and communication is a two-way stream.
Sure.
So at the end of the day, if you're going to establish that relationship with your child, there needs to be open communication from both parties. And it's very much achievable. If you are a parent or you are a child who's just watched this podcast, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section about your own experiences, questions that you may have to ask, because I can assure you we can always ask these amazing parents to always give feedback more on your questions again. But till next time, have a great day.